shocking truth from this grandma's past reveals a heartbreaking betrayal by my father. Emma's heart raced as she climbed into the dusty attic. Each step into the dim light filled with both nostalgia and dread. The scent of old wood and mothballs clung to the air, mixed with the fragile remnants of a life once lived. Boxes overflowed with faded trinkets and forgotten memories. Her grandmother's prints on every item, every tape-worn book. Yet, it was the whispers of secrets that lured Emma deeper, the promise of hidden truths drumming in her chest. She rummaged through a tangle of yellowed letters, their edges curling like the ghosts of the past. With each paper she unfolded, tales of love, loss, and laughter danced before her eyes. But one particular envelope caught her attention. Its binding was loose and weathered, as if it held not just ink, but the weight of unspoken words. Carefully, she peeled it open and felt her breath hitch. Inside was an old diary, its leather cover cracked and delicate. It was her grandmother's. Emma hesitated, a thrill of apprehension racing through her. This wasn't just paper. It felt like a portal into her grandmother's heart. With trembling fingers, she flipped it open. The first entry was dated decades before she was born, recounting a summer full of secret rendezvous, descriptions of a man who made her grandmother's heart race, a man Emma had never been told about. The words dripped with longing, but underneath, Emma sensed shadows lurking. As she read deeper, her stomach churned. The diary unfolded into a story of betrayal, revealing connections that twisted like dark roots beneath the family's history. With every revelation, Emma felt the world shift under her feet. Memories of family dinners filled with laughter twisted into faces contorted with unspoken lies. Was her father part of this tangled web? The thought sent a pang of disbelief crashing through her. She could hardly envision the man she loved being implicated in something so sinister. Then, just as she turned the page, a flimsy photograph floated out, fluttering down like a fallen leaf. Emma caught it, her pulse quickening again. The image depicted her grandmother smiling brightly, but beside her was a stranger, a man whose eyes looked piercingly familiar. Who was he, and why had no one spoken of him? Emma's heart plunged. Could he be the source of her grandmother's deep-seated sorrow? The attic, once a sanctuary, became a labyrinth of confusion and urgency. Echoes of her father's familiar voice rang in her mind, his laughter now tinged with echoes of betrayal. What had he hidden from her? What could possibly rip their family apart? Emma knew she needed answers, but as uncertainty flooded her, so did a feeling of isolation. She felt utterly alone. Standing amidst relics of her family's past, that attic was not just a room filled with memories. It was now a battleground for the truth. Emma's breath came in shallow gasps as she clutched the diary tightly. The questions raced in her mind, consuming her. What if the truth shattered everything she believed? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Emma's heart thudded as she stared at the photograph. The man beside her grandmother, now a haunting specter in her mind. Something about his piercing eyes felt entirely too familiar, as if he had been lurking in her peripheral vision all her life. The air in the attic grew thick with a sense of foreboding. She brushed her fingers over the diary, the paper warm against her skin, yet the secret it held felt cold and heavy. "What is this?" she whispered into the stillness, hoping for some guidance, for an answer. But the attic remained silent, almost mocking her desperate plea. Just then, the sound of creaking wood echoed from below. Emma froze. She knew her father was at work, but that noise was unmistakable. It grew louder, a rhythmic thud that hitched her breath. Someone was coming. A surge of panic clawed at her throat. She jammed the diary into the pile of letters. The attic door creaked open, and her father's silhouette darkened the entryway. Emma's pulse raced. "Emma!" he called, his voice a blend of curiosity and concern. "What are you doing up there?" She stepped backward, her heart racing in time with her thoughts. Should she tell him? Should she confront him? But before she could decide, he stepped fully into the attic, and in that moment, something shifted. His eyes fell on the photograph, then darted to Emma with an intensity that sent chills down her spine. "That's not what it looks like," he said, hands raised defensively. "What does it look like?" Emma shot back, anger and confusion swirling inside of her. "Who is he?" Her father swallowed hard, the muscles in his jaw tightening. The warmth in his eyes faded into a shadow. "I told you your grandmother had secrets. What were you hiding?" Emma's voice cracked. "Is he the reason she was sad? The reason you never talk about her?" Her father's face fell. He stepped forward, but she recoiled, as if he'd reached for a hot stove. "This isn't the time to dig into this, Em. We need to talk about it. You owe me that much." Her voice trembled, thick with emotion. Then, as if a storm was brewing, the lights flickered ominously. The air grew dense, weighty, and then a loud bang erupted from outside, shaking the very rafters of the house. Both of them jumped as the floor vibrated beneath their feet. "What the hell was that?" Emma gasped. Her father darted to the window, peering out into the dimming twilight. The expression on his face shifted from worry to dread. "I don't know. It sounded like a crash." Before Emma could respond, the front door slammed open with a force that rattled the walls. "Charlie, Emma!" a voice shouted, raw and frantic. It was her mother, rushing into the house, her eyes wide and searching. "You need to come down. There's been an accident. It's—" A sudden wave of grief washed over Emma as she met her father's gaze. What had changed so quickly? What was happening? "What accident?" she asked, already fearing the answer. There's a police officer outside. They said they found something. Something about Grandma." Her mother choked on her words, tears welling. In that moment, the diary held more than just secrets. It now felt like a ticking bomb, ready to explode. Who was the mysterious man? What had he done? And what did it have to do with her grandmother's past? Emma stood frozen, her hands trembling as the weight of the truth began to suffocate her. Could it be her family had been living a lie? As the tension thickened, one thing became clear. They were on the brink of revealing something that would change everything. And Emma knew she had to find the answers before it was too late. Emma's heart raced, panic swirling in her chest as her mother's trembling words washed over her. "What accident?" she repeated, barely able to breathe. Her gaze flicked to her father, who stood frozen, as if time had paused around them. "Please, just come down," her mother urged, tears spilling over her cheeks. There was a deep sense of urgency in her voice, a fear that coiled around Emma's heart. "We need to know what's happening." Still clutching that photograph, Emma felt the world tilt. For a brief second, the attic, packed with memories, faded, replaced by the storm brewing within her family. She exchanged a glance with her father, a moment pregnant with unspoken words and buried secrets. "What did Grandma do?" Emma whispered, sensing the dread in her mother's eyes. As if summoned by her words, Emma's mother reached for her hand. Together, they dashed down the attic stairs, her father following close behind. Each step felt heavier, as if they were descending into an abyss. The house felt different. The walls seemed to whisper, carrying fragments of a truth long buried. They burst into the living room, where a police officer stood, firm and dark in the fading light. His presence radiated authority, mixed with an unsettling gravity. Emma felt chills crawl down her spine. "Officer, what's going on?" her mother asked, voice shaking. The officer surveyed them, his gaze sharp and calculating. "I'm afraid there's been an incident regarding your grandmother." He hesitated, his face tightening like a fist. "We discovered something in her old belongings." "What the hell does that mean?" Emma demanded. She felt agitation churn inside her, unease quickly turning to anger. "What did you find?" The officer's eyes flicked toward her father like fire on dry grass. "It's not just about the belongings. It's about what they reveal." "What are you talking about?" Emma's father interjected, stepping closer, desperate to steer the conversation. "In your grandmother's attic, we found evidence. Evidence that suggests she was involved in something illegal. Something very serious." "What? No!" Emma gasped, heat surging through her. "That can't be true! She was just my grandmother!" The man cleared his throat, an echo of shame in the air. "She was listed as a potential suspect in a case of embezzlement, connected with a larger crime ring. We think she may have been hiding things, possibly involving people outside the family." Emma felt the world tilt again, deeper this time. Her grandmother, a suspect? It felt like the floor had opened beneath her, swallowing everything she thought she knew. "But why?" she stammered, blinking rapidly, struggle for breath. "What about the connection? The photograph?" "Emma, I think we need to discuss it all together," her father interrupted, his voice low, urgent. "Let's talk somewhere private." "No," Emma's voice cut through the air, sharp and desperate. "I need to know now!" Suddenly, a loud crashing noise echoed from outside, like thunder that rippled through the room. Everyone turned toward the door, hearts pounding. The officer's hand instinctively moved to his holster. "What's going on out there?" Emma cried, her panic escalating, eyeing her mother's ashen face. And then it happened. The front door burst open again, slamming against the wall with such force that the windows rattled. A figure stumbled inside, wild-eyed and gasping for breath. It was a young man. Emma's heart lurched. The shock hit her like a punch. It was the man from the photograph. "Emma!" he shouted, his voice frayed and urgent. "You need to listen. They're coming for you. All of you. Your grandmother, she was my mother. And I—" Silence fell, stunned and heavy. A dark truth hung in the air, ready to explode. Emma's mind reeled. How could this be? What had she stumbled into? The man stepped closer, eyes darting, as the police officer held the doorframe, tense and watchful. "What are you saying?" Emma stammered, the room spinning. "I'm saying that your family is in danger, and you don't know what's really at stake." His words echoed, the implication mingling with the chaos around her, sending her stumbling deeper into confusion. What did this mean? Who was he really? And what had her grandmother truly hidden? All thoughts spun as Emma realized. The past was reaching out from the shadows, and horrors long buried were clawing their way to the surface. "Emma!" The young man's voice sliced through the thick air, filled with urgency. "You need to listen. They're coming for you. All of you. Your grandmother. She was my mother. And I—" His words fell like heavy stones, crashing against the fragile surface of Emma's reality. Nan, this stranger, the man from the photograph, was claiming to be her uncle? Her heart raced, a mix of confusion and dread flooding through her veins. "Wait, what?" Emma's mind spun. "What do you mean?" "It's not safe," he shouted, panic rippling through him. "You have to trust me. Your grandmother was involved in something larger. She was trying to protect us, protect you." A sudden chill gripped Emma's chest as she struggled to process the whirlwind of information. The police officer shifted, his jaw clenched tightly. Emma's father stepped forward, eyes narrowed. "We don't have time for this. Who are you, really? What do you want from us?" "I'm telling you the truth." The young man's voice rose, desperate. "My name is Lucas. I was taken away when she was forced to leave. She loved me, but I was hidden. There were threats against our family. Things I didn't understand until now." With each word, the air grew heavier, thick with secrets unspoken. Emma reached out, her fingers trembling. "Why didn't she tell us?" "There was too much danger," Lucas replied, breaths uneven. "And I can't let it happen again. They were after her for years, and now they've come for you. You need to get out." "What are you talking about?" Emma's pulse quickened. "What do you mean, they?" Before Lucas could respond, another crash echoed outside, followed by shouting voices and the heavy thud of footsteps. The police officer moved closer, eyes darting to the door. Something cold clawed at Emma's gut. No, not now, she thought, a sense of urgency rising within her. What is happening? But before anyone could move or say another word, the front door burst open again, this time with a force that rattled the walls. A figure charged inside, wild and frantic. Emma dropped the photograph, her heart racing. "It down!" the newcomer shouted, raising a weapon, a gun, towards the room. Emma's breath caught in her throat. A blur of emotions washed over her. Fear, confusion, and disbelief. Who was this person? "Stand back!" the figure yelled, pointing wildly, adrenaline pumping through every word. She was a woman, hair disheveled and eyes filled with madness. But then Emma's gaze landed on her face, and the world around her twisted upside down. "Mom?" Emma's voice trembled. "What are you doing?" Her mother froze, eyes wide, remorse mixing with fear. "Emma, stay away!" "What do you mean, stay away?" Emma gasped, her mind racing. This moment felt like a cruel nightmare. "Stay out of this," the woman shouted. "I didn't want you to know. Your grandmother is not who you think she was." "What are you talking about?" Emma felt the breath leave her body, horrified at her mother's words. "What are you saying? She was part of the organization, one you have to run from." The gravity of her mother's words hit hard. This can't be true. Emma's heart raced. She looked from her mother to Lucas, each face a mirror of fear and urgency, and then back to the officer, who stood frozen, caught in the storm. "No! What is happening?" Emma shouted, desperation flooding her voice. "Why did no one tell me?" But before anyone could answer, sirens wailed in the distance, closing in, echoing the reality that was now spiraling out of control. "Emma, we need to go now," Lucas cried, pulling her toward the door. Amid the chaos, she glanced at her mother. Tears traced down her cheeks. "You have to choose, Emma, now." And in that split second, everything flickered between truth and shadow. Emma's world, now a tangled web of lies and danger, begged her to decide. What to believe? Who could she trust? What secret was worth fighting for? As the sirens grew louder, Emma felt the weight of the moment crashing down. There was no turning back now. But would she follow her newfound uncle? Would she follow the truth, even if it meant unraveling her family forever? The choices she had to make felt like shackles around her heart. Would she risk it all for answers she might not be ready to face? The uncertainty loomed large, louder than the approaching chaos, driving her forward into the unknown. Emma's heart raced in her chest as Lucas pulled her closer, urgency painting every one of his words. The police officer's tension echoed through the room, and her mother's face was a wreck of fear and desperation. "We need to go now," Lucas shouted, his eyes darting toward the door. The sirens wailed louder, slicing through the heavy silence. Emma's stomach churned with dread, but there was no turning back. She nodded, feeling the weight of secrets pressing against her. "Where do we go?" But before Lucas could answer, the sound of shattering glass erupted from the kitchen, sending shards scattering across the wooden floor. Emma's heart leaped. "What was that?" "Get down!" the officer shouted, instinct kicking in as he moved to shield them. Chaos unfurled in an instant. Under the shadow of their hoods, fear rippled through the room, and Emma's breath caught in her throat. "Get the girl!" one of them barked, his voice harsh and gravelly. His eyes locked onto Emma, and the world spun into slow motion. "Run!" Lucas pushed Emma back, ready to defend her. But before they could escape, one of the intruders lunged forward, a glint of metal flashing in the dim light. "Emma!" her mother screamed, panic streaming through her voice. In a split second, Lucas surged forward, shoving Emma out of the way. "No!" she cried, but it was too late. The sound of a gunshot tore through the air, loud and unforgiving. Time froze as Emma turned, horror swelling within her. Lucas staggered back, clutching his side, blood blooming through his shirt like a dark flower against pale skin. "Lucas!" Emma rushed forward, fear blinding her. But he fell to the ground, eyes wide with shock, the frantic energy fading. "No!" The word ripped from her. The officer shouted orders, chaos igniting in the room. "Get back!" he yelled, directing everyone away. Emma's heart pounded, her feet unmoving, rooted in place. The scene morphed into blurred chaos. Shadows danced like deranged puppets, while the shouts of the intruders mingled with the distant wail of sirens. "Emma, come on!" Her father pulled at her arm, urgency pushing him. but her gaze was fixed on Lucas, who lay sprawled on the floor, life slipping away. "Help him! He needs help!" she cried out, desperation weaving. Her words. The officer moved, but panic clashed with protocol. "We need to contain the situation first," he shouted. Contain? Emma's world shattered like the glass from the kitchen window. The man she barely knew had just saved her life, and now he was bleeding out, his life ebbing away right before her. "Mom, help him!" she pleaded, but her mother was frozen, paralyzed by grief and dread. Lucas wheezed, blood pooling beneath him. His voice was faint, barely audible. "Emma, it's not your fault. Trust no one. Find the truth." Those words slashed through her like a jagged knife. What truth? What had her grandmother been hiding? The flicker of life in Lucas's eyes began to dim, his breath growing shallow. And suddenly, the door burst. Open again, this time revealing a figure she never expected. A man stepped in, his expression a blend of rage and urgency. It was her father's twin brother, a man she had always been told was dead. "Emma!" he shouted, eyes wild. "We don't have time! They found out!" Emma's breath faltered, disbelief flooding her senses. You're alive? But before she could process the revelation, Lucas gasped one last time, the light fading from his gaze. A chilling silence enveloped the room. Everything shifted. The walls felt like they were closing in. What had she stepped into? As her uncle she had known was unraveling, and she had to face the truth of her family. A truth that now seemed more sinister than anything she could have imagined. "Emma, we need to go, now!" her uncle shouted, and she was ripped from her thoughts. But as they bolted for the door, the burning question clawed at her heart. What truths lay ahead? And could this be part of a trap? The sirens closed in, urgency clawing at her. Emma glanced back once more, her pulse racing as she stepped into the night, darkness swallowing her whole. Would she discover the truth before it was too late? Emma's heart pounded as she bolted towards the door, her mind racing with 1,000 questions. Lucas, dying on the floor, haunted. Her thoughts, "Trust no one," rang in her ears like a death knell. She had to escape, but how could they leave him behind? Tension crackled in the air, heavy and suffocating. Her uncle grabbed her wrist, pulling her along. "We need to move!" His eyes were frantic, darting around the room, scanning for threats. The dark figures outside were closed in like wolves. "Emma!" Her mother's voice broke through, still caught in terror. "We can't leave him!" But words failed Emma. Lucas lay there, his breath weakening, life slipping through his fingers. Suddenly, the lights flickered and a deep rumble shook the house. Then everything changed in an instant. The front door exploded inwards, shattered wood flying like shrapnel, sending everyone ducking to the floor. Blinded by dust and chaos, Emma barely registered the new arrivals. "Get down!" a new voice barked, and the chaos intensified. Emma's heart raced as she tried to blink away the dust. She couldn't see who it was, but the urgency in their tone sent her senses into overdrive. "Who are you?" she shouted, fear slicing through her voice. "They're coming!" the figure yelled again, a woman this time, rushing into the room. "We have to get you out!" Emma caught a glimpse of her, a fierce gaze, framed by wild hair. "No time to explain," she continued. "They found us." "Who is they?" Emma cried, confusion wrapping tightly around her heart. Just then, the officer drew his weapon. "Stay back," he warned the woman. But she didn't flinch. "Do you really think that's going to stop them?" she shot back, and there was a heavy thud outside. Emma willed herself to stay calm, but it was impossible. "Everybody out!" her uncle shouted, urging them into action. "Now!" But as he moved toward the door, he suddenly froze. A deep, guttural growl echoed from somewhere in the house, followed by a loud crash, sending a shockwave through Emma. Her skin prickled with fear, everything shifting from chaotic to unbearably sharp. The growl wasn't human. Out of the shadows, a monstrous figure emerged, massive and shadowy, baring teeth that glinted unnaturally in the dim light. Emma's breath caught. What the hell was that? "Run!" the woman screamed, breaking the spell of terror. Emma turned, panic flooding her. They had to move, had to escape. But just as they rushed toward the door, her mother cried out, "Emma!" The sound trailed off, her eyes wide with disbelief. Emma turned just in time to see the monstrous figure lunge, not at her, but at her mother, who stumbled backward, shock scrawled across her face. Time slowed, and dread filled Emma's chest. "No!" Emma screamed, lunging toward her. But it was too late. The creature's claws crashed down, and her mother vanished in a swirl of darkness. "Mom!" Emma cried, voice breaking, shock washing over her in icy waves. "Keep moving!" Lucas gasped from the floor, a surge of strength that sent adrenaline coursing through her. But his words felt hollow in the aftermath of what she'd just seen. Everything she thought she understood shattered apart. What had her grandmother tried to protect them from? The dark figure whispered secrets of a world hidden in shadows, secrets that kept her family entwined in a deadly dance. And now her mother was gone, pulled into that darkness. "Emma, we need to go." The urgency in her uncle's eyes steeled her resolve, but doubt clawed at her. "We can't just leave her." In that moment, a new idea sparked. "No," Emma whispered, understanding igniting her. "This is all connected. Everything. Emma, think!" Her uncle's voice was desperate, urgency flooding his tone. "We don't have time." The last glimpse of her mother's face, shock and fear, burned into Emma's mind. She didn't have a choice. There was more to uncover. "I can't just leave," she said through trembling lips. "I have to end this." As the growl sounded again, the world exploded into color. The line between danger and truth blurred, but something within her awakened. Emma's path was set now, tangled with shadows she never asked for, but could no longer ignore. The darkness pulled close around her, but she felt the flicker of defiance rise. Whatever lay ahead, she'd face it. But before she could take a step, the room plunged into darkness. Grounded in chaos, Emma's spirit battled with fear. She could feel every heartbeat thumping against her in the silence. Would this be the end or the beginning? Emma felt the weight of darkness enveloping her, swallowing her fear and grounding her in panic. The growl echoed through the room again, deep and guttural. She could hardly think, shadows closing in around her like a living thing, alive with menace. Her uncle pulled her forward, urging her to escape this nightmare. "Now," he commanded, pushing her toward the door. But something held her. A thundering pulse in her ears drowned out the chaos outside. She wanted to reach for Lucas, to scream, to demand they help him. But the truth was, her mind felt hazy, frazzled by shock. The darkness pulsed, almost mocking her as she fought against it. Just as her uncle's hand gripped hers, the lights faltered again, plunging everything into obscurity. The growl morphed, deepening into a terrifying howl that pierced through the noise of her own heart. Emma gasped, the dread curling in her stomach. Then came a voice, a chilling, familiar voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "You really think you can run?" She squinted into the dark. A figure stepped into the light, casting a shadow that stretched ominously across the room. Emma's breath hitched. Her father stood there, face pale, but eyes dark with an intensity she had never seen. "Dad?" she stammered, confusion tangling her thoughts. "What are you doing?" The world tilted. Everything she knew about him turned upside down. The man she trusted, who held her hand when she fell, now seemed like a stranger, wrapped in a shroud of secrets. "Stop them," he ordered in. A voice she barely recognized. The authority came through like a crack of thunder, demanding obedience. "Stop who?" Emma shouted, desperate. "What's going on?" He stepped closer, and with each inch, fear wrapped tighter around her heart. "They've been watching us, Emma. All of us. Your grandmother." He faltered, horror flickering across his face. "She wasn't innocent. I tried to protect you from the truth." "What truth?" Emma's head spun, trying to grasp the whirlwind of revelations. He didn't answer. Instead, he glanced at the door, fear igniting in his eyes. "We have to get you out of here. They'll come for you next." The sound of footsteps thundered outside, a chaotic march echoing through the eerie silence. Emma's heart raced, a battle between desperate hope and panicked reality. She felt the weight of her mother's absence, her heart slicing with each passing second. "Emma!" the officer shouted, breaking the tension. "You need to leave now!" And just like that, her father's demeanor shifted. "No!" he snapped, eyes flashing with anger. "They can't know where she is." "Dad, what is happening?" Emma cried, her voice rising. But before he could respond, a blinding flash erupted, and the room was engulfed in blaring light. The darkness shattered, revealing the figures outside. Men cloaked in black, uniforms glinting ominously in the light. They were armed, determined, and headed straight for them. "Time's up," her father said, panic filling the space between them. "Emma, you have to trust me." But trust felt like a fragile thread, ready to snap. "What happened to Grandma?" she screamed, pulling from his grasp. "What did you do?" He took a step forward, a floor creaking beneath him. "It was never supposed to go this far," he whispered, his voice shaking now. "We were all part of it." "Part of what?" she pressed, feeling her world crumble. Suddenly, a figure burst into the room, her mother, disheveled and breathless, eyes wild with fury. "Get away from her!" "Mom?" Emma gasped, disbelief flooding her. But her expression shifted when she saw her mother pull something from her jacket. A gun. "Mom, no!" Emma shouted, dread filling every crevice of her being. "Trust me, Emma!" her mother screamed. But it was too late. Before they could react, a deafening shot cracked through the air, echoing in the confined space. All at once, the world froze. Her father staggered backward, his face pale, mirroring Emma's horror. "Mom!" Emma cried, but the answer twisted in her throat. As the smoke surrounded them, it clouded everything. Her mother's eyes filled with fear, and Emma realized the truth twisted even deeper than she'd ever fathomed. "Mom, what have you done?" Emma choked out, the horror washing over her. Her mother glanced at her father. Confusion and pain mingling in the air, and silent, devastating truths hung heavy around them. "I did it to protect you!" "Protect her?" The layers began to peel away. Everything she had known frayed at the edges, exposing the darkness lurking just beneath. And then, a name. Your grandmother. She was connected to everything to them. Emma felt herself spiral, standing at the edge of an abyss filled with questions. Secrets folded in secrets, and her family's foundation crumbled. The darkness was real, living, and now it threatened to swallow them whole. "Who do I trust?" she whispered, as the pieces shattered around her, the truth lurking closer every second. But just then, a brutal crash exploded from the door, and clamor erupted, shaking the ground beneath her feet. The figures were coming for them fast, and Emma knew they had to decide. In that moment of chaos, she felt something new ignite within her. There was no turning back, only choices to be made, and danger closing in. The chaos tightened around Emma like a vice. The fear was palpable, thick like smoke. The growl echoed again, a primal sound that sent chills down her spine. She felt the weight of her family's secrets pressing her down, suffocating in the moment. "Trust me," her father shouted, desperation etched on his face. But trust felt like a mirror shattered on the floor, each piece reflecting a different truth. "Emma!" Her mother's voice cut through her haze. "Please listen to me." But then another deafening crash came from outside. As the armed figures shoved through the door, their presence pushing against the thin fabric of her reality. That blur of figures poured into the room, the tension thickening to a breaking point. Emma's heart raced, spiraling faster than she thought possible. "What do we do?" she whispered, but no one answered. The dark figure loomed, bearing fangs that threatened to shred everything her family had built. "We can't leave," she screamed, darting for Lucas. "Emma!" her father shouted, pulling her back. "Stop! Get away!" the officer yelled, panic leaking through his voice. But she couldn't hear them over the cacophony of chaos. She stomped down the fear, gripping her mother's arm. "What's going on? Who are those people?" Her mother faltered, eyes wide, skin pale. "They?" But before she could finish, a shooting pain paralyzed Emma. Her heart dropped, veins freezing. A figure from the shadows. No, not just a figure, but an ominous presence wrapped in darkness. It was the very essence of dread made flesh. Then, the woman from before, fierce and wild, broke through the turmoil. "Get her out!" she yelled, eyes darting. The command held a fierceness Emma had never seen. Now! The growl morphed into a roar, shaking the foundations. But the chaos erupted faster than she could react. The front wall buckled inwards, collapsing under the weight of the looming threat. As rocks tumbled down, Emma felt the explosion of fear spark inside her. And as she stumbled back, everything came into blurred focus. "Emma!" It was her mother's voice again. But it was different, filled with desperation. Emma turned, and her world shattered all over again. Her mother stood at the crumbling edge of the doorway, a figure silhouetted behind her. She was reaching for something, but it wasn't just her hand that was outstretched. It was another person, eyes bright through the dust, someone Emma had never seen before. "Help me!" Her mother's voice trembled. "Mom, who is that?" Emma cried, the panic twisting tighter. And then it happened. A thunderclap, a roar, and in a horrifying instant, the stranger lunged forward, face contorted in rage. You left me!" It was a voice Emma had never heard, but it echoed her history like a sad lullaby. Her heart sank as recognition clawed at her. "What are you saying?" What was happening? The figure stepped closer, and Emma staggered back. "You don't even know, do you?" The figure's voice cracked like ice. "Your mother abandoned me!" Abandoned? The word hung in the air, thick, suffocating. She felt the walls of her family closing in. Like a tomb. "Don't listen to her," her father shouted, stepping forward. But it was too late. The truth began to unravel like a tightly wound thread, pulling at every connection she thought she had. Memories flickered through her mind, memories of laughter turned bitter and twisted. "No! This can't be happening!" Emma gasped, stumbling. "I'm your sister!" the figure shouted, fury and anguish colliding. "You have no idea what she did to me." In that moment, Emma felt the world tilt beneath her feet, and every fiber of her being quaked. Sister? Reality fractured into chaos, and she didn't know what to believe. As darkness closed in again, this time smothered with a revelation that split her heart wide open, she had to know. Was her family truly what she believed? Or was everything built on lies? Time slowed as the growl rose again, shoving Emma into a desperate chase for clarity. What was the truth? Trust was slipping through her fingers like grains of sand, and there was no way out. Who could she turn to? "Emma!" Her father's frantic voice pulled her back, but she stared at the stranger. The raw pain and truth swirling around them, like a storm ready to tear apart and lay bare the lies hidden beneath. As the darkness surged closer, she had to decide: believe the unimaginable or fight against what she once thought was her reality. Choices loomed, but the answer was buried deeper than anything she could comprehend. Time was fading. Would she uncover the secret? A bolt of lightning, cutting through the tension. Emma's emotions surged as she recognized him. Jack, her childhood friend, the one who had always protected her. "Jack!" she cried, relief flooding her. He had a wild look in his eyes, almost frantic. But the intensity in his gaze sent a chill down her spine. He was holding something, but she couldn't make it out. "Emma, you don't know what you're in the middle of," Jack shouted, moving toward her, eyes darting back to the dark figures approaching. "They're hunting you!" Her father, eyes wide with shock, made a move to reach for her, but Jack stepped in front, blocking him. "Stay away from her." Tension crackled and swirled as each second stretched. "Jack, please," Emma's voice quivered. "What do you mean? Who's hunting me?" But before he could respond, the growl intensified, reverberating through the walls like a living thing. A creature emerged from the shadows, crawling toward them, hungry and dark. "Run!" he yelled, panic bursting from his lips. "Run where?" Emma shouted, clenching her fists. "What is happening?" And that's when the room exploded. A wall of sound crashed against her as the armed figures flooded in, their shadows swooping like dark birds of prey. Confusion turned to chaos, every face a mask of terror. Emma round like confetti. "What do you mean? He's the reason they are after you." Jack's voice thundered over the chaos. "He's been controlling everything." Emma's heart slammed against her ribcage like a wild creature trying to escape. No, that can't be true. But the look on her father's face twisted in disbelief. And just then, a terrifying realization washed over her. Jack pulled a small device from his pocket, brandishing it like a weapon. "This is the only way," he declared, desperation lining his features. "Jack, please don't," Emma cried, confusion swirling. But he pressed a button. A blinding light surged forth, enveloping everything. For a moment, There was only a flash, a pulse that expanded outward, vibrating through Emma's bones. Then suddenly, everything went dark. When the world came into focus again, they were no longer in the house. They stood in what appeared to be a dimly lit chamber, walls adorned with ominous symbols. Emma blinked, gasping. "What happened? Where are we?" Jack was panting, adrenaline coursing through him. "This is it, Emma. The heart of the truth. This is where it all began." "What do you mean?" she whispered, heart hammering. But before he could answer, a voice boomed from the shadows, sending a shockwave of recognition through her. "Welcome, Emma. I've been waiting for you." It was her grandmother, appearing like a phantom, her face twisted into a smile that felt more like a threat. "What?" Emma's vision blurred. "You're alive?" "Alive?" The question echoed between them, thick with secrets long buried. "I have always been." Everything shifted around Emma. The truth felt slippery and taunting. Did you set this all in motion?" Before her grandmother could answer, a shadow moved behind her, a figure stepping into the light. It was a man, dark eyes that pierced through her soul, and Emma's heart dropped. "Your father and we share more than just blood," he said, and the air grew thin. Emma's world splintered, pieces crashing down around her. What did he mean? Wait! She breathed, realization dawning like a low tide. "You're connected." And yet, in that moment of clarity, a deafening roar erupted. The dark figure, no, creature, was back. It lunged toward them, and Emma's scream froze in her throat. "Run!" Jack shouted, but as they dashed away, chilling fear wrapped tight around Emma. The shapes of her family, lies intertwined with bruised bonds, were slipping away. In the chaos, she realized she needed answers. "Jack, what's happening? Who do I trust?" she yelled, gripping his arm in desperation. "We have to find the source of this. We have to face it," he breathed, urgency clawing at his voice. But what did that mean? Where would this journey lead them? As the darkness closed in again, Emma felt the weight of choices looming larger than ever, and she knew there was no escaping the truth now. Would she be strong enough to face whatever horrors awaited? The darkness lunged, but Emma's instincts kicked in. Jack's grip tightened around her wrist, pulling her forward as her heart raced. With every frantic beat, "We need to find a way out!" he shouted, and she nodded, adrenaline spurring her into action. Around them, the chamber shimmered with eerie symbols, seeming to twist and wriggle as if aware of the turmoil. Emma fought to keep her mind clear amid the chaos. "What do we do?" she gasped, her voice trembling. "Look for something, a weapon, a way to fight back," Jack urged, scanning the chaos. But before they could search, the growl erupted again, the monster edging closer. Suddenly, an idea sparked in Emma's mind. "We need to harness the energy of the symbols. If they're here, they must hold power." She pointed toward the markings on the ground, feeling a flicker of hope brightening the corners of her. Fear. "Are you serious?" "How?" Jack retorted, eyes wild, but there was no time to argue. Emma reached out, her fingers dancing over the symbols, a strange warmth pulsing against her skin. "I can feel it. There's something here. Help me!" Together, they traced the shapes, mumbling under their breath, weaving their fingers through the energy that throbbed beneath the surface. Emma's heart thudded louder, fear morphing into determination, each stroke igniting a power that surged through her. As they concentrated, the shadows surged angrier. The creature screeched, a terrible sound that cracked through the air, vibrating in her bones. She gasped, but pushed through the fear. Just a bit more. Her surroundings blurred, lights flaring before her eyes as she focused, the symbols glowing brighter under. Her touch. The room shook, and she felt the energy building. Then it happened. A blinding light erupted from their fingers, flashes of color thundering outward, illuminating the monster. The creature recoiled, howling as the light pierced the suffocating darkness. Emma could almost see the horror etched on its face, its twisted features contorting in pain. "Keep going!" Jack yelled, his voice a lifeline in the tides of chaos. Emma concentrated harder. The energy intensified, swirling around them like a cyclone. She felt the warmth enveloping her, filling her with strength unknown, pushing her toward a kind of reckoning. Then, with a surge, the blinding light erupted outward, crashing against the creature with a force that made the ground tremble. It screeched one last time before vanishing into a cloud of darkness, leaving the air thick and still. Breathless, Emma collapsed against the cool stone wall, chest heaving. Did we do it?" she gasped. Jack knelt beside her, eyes wide and glowing. "We did! We actually did it!" Relief washed over them, mingling with disbelief. But there was no time for celebration. The walls around them began to tremble, cracks spiderwebbing as the chamber's energy ebbed away. "We need to leave now," Jack urged. They scrambled toward the exit, sunlight breaking through as they pushed open the heavy door, escaping into the fresh air, the scent of freedom washing over them like a wave. Tragedy and truth lay heavy on Emma's heart. She turned to Jack, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Thank you for everything." He nodded, a smile breaking through the dirt and fear. "We're family, Emma, always." Behind them, the shadows of the house twisted and faded, a testament to the war they'd fought. The nightmares didn't dissolve completely. Instead, they felt distant, nothing but echoes of what was. Emma looked up at the sky, a vast expanse of possibility stretching beyond the horizon. "My mother, my whole family." "I know," Jack said softly, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "But you're not alone anymore." With a deep breath, Emma squared her shoulders. She would uncover the truth, face whatever came next. But now, she wouldn't be fighting it alone. No matter what came of her family's secrets, she'd forge her own path. Hope blossomed inside her, a flame, ignited amid the ashes. As night fell, she felt ready to embrace whatever the future held. But before that journey began, she knew she needed to share their story. The world needed to hear it. And you need to hear this now. Subscribe immediately so you don't miss any of these exclusive stories. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments with your thoughts and theories about how this all ended. Because I can't wait to see what you think. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this all concludes. You have to take action. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share this.